Hi, I'm Blair. Welcome to Seller Notes. Today we're going to have another edition of our mailbag segment. We get great questions from customers, all the time, from all three of our different locations. One of the questions we get frequently, especially with the upcoming vacation months, is how much booze or alcohol can I take across the border, be it to Canada or to Mexico? I'm joined with Matt today. Matt, thanks for being with us today. Do you have any answers for that?
How much can we take across the border?
What can we take across the border?
Sure do. Depends on what we're talking about. The first one is liquor. How much liquor can we take across the border? Well, they use it in ounces. Over in Canada, we're going to be taking 1 liter. 1.14 liters is actually the maximum you can take, but there's no such thing as a 1.14 liter bottle. So that's all you can take there. You can take a little bit more wine with 1.5 liters of wine, which is one of these larger bottles of wine. You can also bring 200 cigarettes, which sounds like a lot if you're a non-smoker, but if you're a smoker, that's 1 carton of cigarettes. So if you're going for a few weeks and you're a heavy smoker, it might not quite be enough.
So if you are going across the border, say on vacation, fishing or something, you could take 1 bottle of liquor, 1 carton of cigarettes, 2 regular bottles of wine, or one of their larger formats.
Exactly, and that's just duty-free. You can take that across tax-free. You can take as much as you want across, but you're going to get taxed, and it's not going to be a 5%, 9% tax. Usually it's in the 30s.
Another question we get frequently, and I think that there's a lot of confusion about it. Obviously, we're not doctors, we're not medical personnel, but people frequently complain of getting headaches from drinking certain red wines or certain wines from different altitudes even, or different climates, different countries. It's often attributed to sulfite allergies. Can you fill us in a little bit on sulfites?
Yeah, absolutely. Sulfites are a chemical additive that wineries put into wines to help preserve them. Some of these wines that say no sulfites on them have very trace amounts of sulfites, very, very small percent. It's less than 1% of sulfites, or 1 part per million. But a sulfite allergy actually causes an asthmatic reaction, not headaches or flushing. You start to get really short of breath and you feel a lot of heaviness in your chest. And it affects people with asthma a lot more than regular people. There's actually less than 1% of the American population is allergic to sulfites. A lot of the time it's tannins that they could be allergic to. It could be alcohol in general. It could be grapes that they're allergic to. Those things will cause headaches and flushing and all that kind of stuff.
And as far as sulfites go, generally speaking, there's more sulfites in red wine than white wine. As you said, it's used by winemakers, some winemakers, as a preservative.
Yep.
It's also a naturally occurring in the process, isn't it?
It is. It's a byproduct of the yeast consuming the sugars to make the alcohol. When it eats the sugar and turns it into alcohol, which is a byproduct, another one of the byproducts is also sulfites. So it occurs in all wines no matter what.
Okay. Another great question we get is confusion, and I can attribute this one to old wives' tales, I don't know, but about the longevity of beer. How long will my beer last? Is fresher better? And more importantly, what if it gets warm? What if it gets warm, then cold, then warm? Does that affect the beer, the taste, or the longevity at all?
Yeah, we do get that one a lot, because over here at Galaxy, all of our beer is cold. But we do that for a specific reason. We like to keep it cold. It can get warm and cold and warm and cold and warm and cold again, as long as it doesn't get hot or freeze. If the stuff starts to boil and goes back down to room temperature, that's when you get like a wet cardboard taste to it, or a wet cardboard smell. And it's kind of gross, but that skunky smell that people think comes from letting your beer get warm, that actually comes from light, any kind of light. Sunlight's particularly bad, but any kind of light is going to start breaking down the beer into its different components, one of which is methyl mercaptan, really cool word, I like that word, which is actually part of a skunk spray, which is where that skunky smell starts to come from. So it's the sunlight that happens. You get bottles of beer that are either clear bottles, green bottles, or brown bottles. The brown bottles are the best because they don't let as much light in as the other ones. Obviously, cans would be ideal.
So if you were to come into one of our locations and purchase a case of beer cold, you take it home, you put it in the closet, you put a few cans in your refrigerator. The ones in the closet get to room temperature, then you put a few more cans in your refrigerator, they get cold. Will not affect the taste.
They will be absolutely fine. They go from warm to cold many times before they get here. It's actually brewed very warm and then chilled again, and then it's sent to the bottling plant, which is room temperature, and then it's usually in a chilled freighter, and then it gets into a room temperature warehouse, and then into a chilled truck, and then into a room temperature floor, and then into the cold cooler, and then into your hands.
Another question we get asked frequently is people often get gifts of alcohol, around Christmas time or something, and then come summertime they go, oh gosh, I forgot I had this. They've got this bottle sitting in their closet. Can you explain a little bit about the longevity of wine, the longevity of alcohol, maybe some of the creamed alcohols or creamed cordials?
Yeah, absolutely. The wine, the easy answer is it depends. It always depends. But the amount of tannins in the wine will affect how long it ages correctly before it starts turning bad. White wines have a lot less tannins than red wines, I believe, and which is why a lot of the really tannic wines, the Cabernets and the Bordeaux blends, tend to age longer. Well, I've got a 10-year-old, Chateau Lafite and 12-year-old California Napa Cabernet. Those are the ones that age really well. If you get like a cheaper Australian white or an American white, those are the ones that are only going to last a year or two, but a good tannic wine can last up to 15 years on the shelf.
Fantastic. How about some of the liquors?
Yeah, absolutely. We get that question a lot. Somebody passed away and we're going through all their old stuff and they've got all these bottles. What do we do with them? Are they good? Or I bought a bottle of this and that last year or the year before. It's still on my shelf. It's still in the fridge. Is it any good anymore? And the answer is it depends. It all depends. If it's a base liquor, if it's vodka, rum, gin, tequila, or whiskey, it's going to last indefinitely. If it hasn't been opened, a bottle of vodka 30 years from now is going to taste the exact same as when you bought the day that you bought it.
Because of the higher alcohol content?
Exactly. And speaking of which, I've also heard this one come out. I've got an 18-year-old Scotch on my shelf that I've been saving for 20 years. When do you think I should open it? And unfortunately, the answer is a little bit disappointing. The 18-year-old Scotch is still going to be 18-year-old Scotch 20 years later, because distilled spirits don't actually age or mature in the bottle like wine does. But when you start getting into the cordials and the liqueurs and the sugary things and the creamy things, that's when the expiration date starts to drop a little bit. These guys are going to last almost indefinitely, but sooner or later the sugars in them are going to start to crystallize. That's one way you can tell if it's gone bad, is there'll be little sugar crystals all along the bottom and along the cap, and a good way to avoid that is just to wipe the neck of the bottle off and then screw the cap on real tight, and it'll last for a long, long time. Cream liqueurs, however, are a totally different story. Those guys aren't going to last any more than 18 months. 18 months is the absolute maximum, and 99% of the cream liqueurs that you find are actually going to have either an expiration date or a recommended period after you open them that it's supposed to be drank at.
I keep my open cream liqueurs, even my Kahlua sometimes, in the refrigerator. Does that make a difference? Is it necessary?
It's not necessary, but it can't hurt.
Right. That's what I was going with.
Yeah. It is liquor, so it is going to, preserve the dairy and the egg and whatever else happens to be in the liqueur, but it's not going to hurt it any just to keep.
So that's just a better safe than sorry philosophy.
Exactly. It preserves the flavor more than the actual integrity of the liquor.
We often get people coming into the store frequently, all the time, every day, looking for gifts, looking for a bottle of wine for a dinner celebration or a birthday or some kind of housewarming gift or something. What are some clues that we can give the consumer when they're looking for some kind of gift, a wine gift maybe?
The first couple of questions I always ask is whether or not, do they like red wine or white wine, and do they like sweet wine or dry wine? That's a real good base that we can get you to, because I can recommend a fantastic Pinot Grigio, but if the person drinks specifically Cabernets, they're not going to like the wine.
Right.
So, and we also have a lot of fun labels and fun bottle sizes and shapes, a lot of good things that make gifts.
So another good thing to look at is maybe the gift receiver's personality, say, what they're interested in. Let's say they have a lot of dogs or something. We've got some cute little dog labels, or if they're into some kind of sports or something, we can maybe tailor a wine that the label has something that's related to that as well.
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of wines out there that have really creative marketing ideas, and their labels are specifically tailored to a certain type of personality, yeah, that definitely works.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for being with us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks,
and thank
Mike.
you for being with us. We'll see you next time on Cellar Notes.